How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another video, and as you guys have seen by, of course, the title of the video, we are going to be going into first a quick market update for those of you who are interested in getting a market update as far as a technical analysis perspective. But the main topic of this video is how I plan on personally making a very good amount of money during the bear market, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys a couple of methods that I'm going to be implementing for this bear market that should be happening here in these next couple of months. In my personal opinion, I think we're going to transition into a bear market here very soon, but I'm going to be going over my personal strategy that I'm going to be implementing during this time, how I plan on very much so capitalizing on this bear market, especially within that of the crypto market, and what you guys can do as well. Because just for clear information, I'm going to be staying active throughout the entirety of whether we're in a bull market or whether we're in a bear market. So I'm not just here to, talk about the good days. I'm here to talk about the bad days, because the bad days are where a lot of profit can actually be made from, capitalizing off of opportunities like that of a bear market, rather than going into hibernation ourselves as an investor and not staying active throughout those times. Whereas the people who stay active throughout that time of a bear market within the market start to see early opportunities and actually are one of the earliest people to get into the markets at that time, and they end up making a very, very good amount of money. So that's the goal for us, but I'm going to be sharing with you guys a couple of things that we can be doing and we will be doing throughout, not only on this channel, but what I'm going to be doing as an individual, of what we're going to do to capitalize on the bear market. So with that being said, let's jump into it from Bitcoin on a technical analysis perspective. Not much really to update on that of Bitcoin. If you guys see, we've kind of rejected, if we're simply looking at this wick, we've kind of rejected off of this trend line here just a good amount of times. Ever since June, we had this wick. We came down, wicked off of this trend line as well, kind of bounced off of it here. I'd say realistically, if we want to draw it at the point of most touches, it'd be kind of here, where we kind of respecting this ascending trend line. Now, the interesting thing here, though, is as you can see, we have, of course, one of our somewhat of psychological levels being that of $110,000 per Bitcoin. Well, it's clearly, if I was just to mark out a level here that we could even draw out a box, you can see multiple taps off of this line. This level, like right here as well, has been essentially a pretty key point within that of Bitcoin, in which price has continued to bounce off of. So my personal opinion is that if we kind of, obviously we're trading above 110,000 right now, but if we go and fail to push back up above 110,000, I think a scenario that we could see happen is a movement down, and then if we fall below this trend line, then I think we're finally going to head down to this support zone that I have marked out, with that high being around $101,500, with that low being this previous swing low here of $98,226 per Bitcoin. And again, if we go to the weekly time frame, which of course, the higher time frame we go up, the more significant price action and just, I guess, indicators are. If we look at the 12 EMA, we are going to be closing below that here in the next 5 hours, as this is, of course, when the week is ending. The 12 EMA on the weekly time frame is somewhat important, but we're also going to be closing it below the 20 EMA. But as you can see, the 50 EMA is where I'm currently looking for. This is the 50 weekly exponential moving average, and it looks like by the time we eventually get down here, we'll be at around that $101,500 per Bitcoin, where this EMA will be sitting, if that is something that we have happen. Now, what we could see, though, is we could see, if I go ahead and get at the path tool, here's my personal prediction of what happens with Bitcoin. I think personally we come down and we just start moving down towards this $100,000 per Bitcoin level. Maybe we touch this EMA, tap off it, we get a weak movement back up. But if we come down and close below this 50 EMA on the weekly time frame, then I personally think that we're just going to continue to see more drawdown within the markets. Potentially, this is where we start our bear market. Now, that is just my hypothesis. I think that if we do come down, and there's two options, of course. You reject off this 50 EMA and continue upwards to potentially form a new all-time high at the best case scenario for bulls, or we come down to this 50 EMA, we close below the 50 EMA on the weekly time frame, we go sweep this major swing low here at 98,226. We sweep that major swing low and we close below both this support level, again, that we have identified with this box, but also that 50 EMA. If that happens, then I think we're going to see a pretty drastic move down to where we could most definitely essentially say that we are in a bear market, that things are definitely at least shifting. So that's my personal opinion. If you guys look, here's the 50 EMA on the weekly time frame. The last time we were below that was in August of 2023. Obviously, pretty long time ago, not too long. This is around 2 years ago we were below there. And so if we do come down and close below the 50 EMA, I think that we're going to see major downside there. And by the way, just how alts look and how alts have been responding to, negative price action in terms of Bitcoin, there's a correlation. Like Bitcoin, when Bitcoin responds negatively, when Bitcoin's price action is negative, if Ethereum's price action is negative, all altcoins respond very negatively to that. Like that's the correlation. Altcoins are always simply falling down alongside them at, of course, a stronger downside. Whereas when we see Bitcoin and Ethereum having very good swings up on the upside, where we're seeing a decent pump within that of Bitcoin or Ethereum, new all-time highs being created, altcoins really are not responding too favorably. And that is something that I brought up multiple times. You probably, if you've been watching this channel for a decent bit, you've noticed that, or that's something that we brought up throughout this entirety of this year, is that it's concerning to see for altcoins that they are not showing anywhere near as strong as strength as they were back in December of 2024. And again, if I can go and show you guys, for example, Pengu, this is just one coin. If we go and look at December of 2025 or 2024, you guys can see this is kind of when it launched. So this is not a good example. Hold on, we'll go look at Ondo, for example. As you guys can see with Ondo, in December of 2024, we reached $2.16 per token, and now we are currently sitting at 68 cents, right? The concerning thing that, I brought up multiple times is if we look at Ethereum, which, by the way, I think Ethereum is going to just continue to, I think Ethereum is done. For this cycle. That's my personal opinion. I think Ethereum is definitely going to be revisiting $3,000 per ETH here soon, maybe within these next couple of months. Again, personal conviction there. I think that we're personally done with Ethereum. Say what you will about altcoins with that in mind. But essentially, what's interesting here is if you guys go and look, if we look at December of 2025 or 2024, ETH was around $4,000 per Ethereum. Well, if you look, we of course hit a new all-time high for Ethereum, almost hitting $5,000 per Ethereum. Before now, we're of course back at around 4K per ETH. Well, back in 2024 of December, when ETH hit $4,000 per Ethereum, a coin like Aerodrome even hit around $2.30. We had a lot of other coins. If we go look at Dogecoin was at around 50 cents. It is now currently sitting around 18 cents, right? Fartcoin, for example, pretty popular coin as well. In December, maybe not. Maybe Fartcoin's not a good example. Let's look for something else, for example. Render, okay? We look at Render. In December of 2024 at around $12. It's now at $2 per token. Sui, for example, I could go on and on. Sui is at $2.30. It was at $5.30. So the main point I'm trying to make here is that ETH was at $4,000 December of 2024. It hit almost 5K this year, and altcoins barely revisited or even made an attempt to revisit their previous all-time highs, which you'd think, right? They would follow ETH, especially ETH making a new all-time high, Bitcoin hitting many new all-time highs, right? Recently here in this year of 2025, altcoins have not reacted favorably whatsoever. And that is the most concerning part that I had been bringing up throughout, when we even saw this happening. And I still stand with that. I think a lot of altcoins are just showing the severe downside, in contrast to that of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and just are not looking favorable whatsoever. 2024 was really good for altcoins in my opinion. 2025, not so much whatsoever. And that's just the concerning thing, right? So that is what I wanted to bring up here. I think it's pretty significant to go over, right? Because it is important, recognizing those shifts. And so with that in mind, again, I think personally that the market is starting to top. I think within these next couple of months, we're going to see that. And I think we're going to see a pretty big bear market here very shortly. But does that mean that a alt season or, at least a altcoin run where we see altcoins going up 10-20% a day for a week or two, is that something that's off the table? I don't think so. I think there's still a potential possibility, but my personal bias is more leaning towards a bearish outcome for the crypto market. But again, I think like there's a definite potential that in November and December we see some sort of a run, whether it be a short, small one or a one that spans over a couple of months into that of early Q6 or Q1 of 2026. That's also a possibility. So I'm just saying, like, I'm more short-term bias or more short as far as my bias right now. But I think that there's still, of course, a potential possibility that we see some sort of run. I just don't see that as being so favorable with current market conditions and the way the market's just been in general. So that's my personal opinion. But, of course, we just have to see how everything will play out. Sol, for example, is rejecting off this trend line. Once we close below this trend line, I'm very interested actually in shorting Solana to potentially get a very good move down here if we break below this well-respected trend line there. So I am keeping an eye on that. Ethereum, not much really to go over, just besides I don't think ETH looks good here whatsoever. I personally think we're going to go very low with Ethereum here shortly. But that, again, is just my personal bias. We'll have to see. Hype. Hype is about, it actually closed below this trend line yesterday, and I actually made a tweet about, going ahead and shorting that. But even in 5 hours, Hype would be a good short. Hype has been showing pretty good resilience lately, but I think that Hype is going to see some downside here shortly as well. My personal opinion. All right, so that's going to be it, guys, for at least this part. Let's get into the bear market. It's going to be a pretty quick little segment on it. This upcoming week, I will be back in Florida, so the videos are going to hopefully cover more topics. We're just going to continue to do these market updates. Maybe we'll do throw in some macroeconomics topic as well, go over that as well. We'll kind of figure things out as we go. And potentially also go into coins that we may be looking to potentially get some allocation for and a DCA strategy for this bear market for some specific coins. So with all that being said, what am I planning to do for the bear market and how are we going to go about playing this out? Now, I'd first like to mention that a lot of what I'm going to be talking about, you can find some really good resources in the description below, which I'll get into. But let's go over it. So there's a couple different things that you can do. If you're a normal crypto investor who simply hears about a coin, you look into the coin, or maybe you research it yourself, you buy the coin, and then you plan on selling at a future date, of course, for a profit. You have a spot buyer. That is essentially what you are. Someone who just goes on an exchange like Coinbase or goes on their wallet, buys a coin, and then aims to sell it at a higher price in the future. We'll call you a spot buyer, okay? So that is, of course, the first way we can play a bear market, and we'll explain some strategies that will be playing into for this bear market when it eventually does come, because it definitely will. And then we have, of course, a trader who we'll call swing/day trading, right? And I'll explain what these are as well, but I want to give you guys what I personally do and what I personally am planning to do in the event that we do see our bear market coming in. And essentially the pros and cons of involving yourself and being active within the market for both of these. So again, this will be very simple. But the first thing that you really want to go over in terms of spots, if you're a spot trader, a bear market is a time where you should be buying some coins that you see, of course, a future profit off of. And again, Bitcoin is going to be one of our biggest ones here. Bitcoin, ETH are just always going to be the runners that we are going to see just generally perform very well within that of the crypto market. Probably XRP I'd put up there also just because of the immense hype behind it. So in a bear market, these three would of course be the ones that I'm looking to DCA into. I want to get a really good average on all three of these tokens. It's just good to have them in a normal crypto portfolio as well. So this is personally what I'm going to be looking for in terms of allocation wise. But that's just simply the first thing. If we're at my bag or my approach as a spot holder is I want to start loading up and DCAing in a bear market on Bitcoin, on Ethereum, and on Solana. If Bitcoin goes and drops to 80K, I'm not going to throw everything that I have at Bitcoin at that time. If I have 10K that I want to throw into Bitcoin, I'll put maybe $2,000 at 80K, and then I'll set aside another 2K for 70K, another 2K if we go to 60K, and so on and so forth. Therefore, I'm covering all bases. And so that's honestly the plan. ETH we're going to also look at. And again, I'll share with you guys literally my entire plan as we get into the bear market. And speaking of my plan, I have a Notion sheet that covers all the altcoins that I think are going to do well if we do potentially see some sort of run here in Q4, which again, I'm leaning more towards we probably won't. But in the event we do, there's a Notion sheet. This is in the description below. However, it is included in my free course. It's a completely free course that you guys should be able to access in the description below. And in that free course, it just goes over some basics on cryptocurrency, even some technical analysis, and it will be consistently updated there as well. So if you want that free course, it will be in the description below, and the Notion sheet will be included in there also. Currently, it only has some high conviction coins for Q4 of 2025, but it will then be changed into when we get into Q6 or in 2026. Once we get into 2026, and if we do see a bear market come by in 2026, then the Notion sheet will shift into coins that I'm looking for and to go ahead and actually buy during the bear market. And it will include my buy levels for Bitcoin. It will include my buy levels for Ethereum, Solana, and any other altcoins. If there's some altcoins that we see pop up throughout that time that we could see performing very well once a altcoin or when a bull market comes back into play, I'll include those in there as well. My buy targets for them, my sell targets. It's not intended to be financial advice. It's just my thoughts. So just clarify, that is in the free course. It'll be in the description below. That's the only way you'll be able to access it, but you'll have it for a lifetime. Okay, so that's the first thing, right? And so that's another thing. We're going to be in a spot as far as our spot portfolio, what we're going to be doing throughout the bear market, constantly researching. We're going to be constantly researching new projects. A lot of projects that are active during that of a bear market that are, making pretty big promises, that are actually showing, good developmental signs, good technicals all across the board. We're going to be scouting for projects like that, and I'm going to be sharing updates with you guys, but that's something I'm going to personally be doing, because if I find a really promising project that comes out within that of the bear market, it's not going to get too much attention. So if we can get early allocation to that and it gets attention during a bull market, then we're going to have an insanely early entry into that coin. There's a lot of risk with this, of course, so again, this will also be not financial advice whatsoever, but constantly researching for new up-and-coming coins that have pretty big potential. I'm going to be looking for coins of that nature and also just setting a little bit into them, not too much. Once they start gaining attention in the bull market, then we can start DCAing into them just to get, our average or just more of a hand in those coins. But we don't want to just over leverage ourselves into some of these early projects into that of a bear market because they could die off. There's a bunch of other things, but we're going to be constantly researching, looking for coins within that of a bear market. So again, like how I used to play bull markets, or just a crypto market, I would simply be active once I started to see that a bull market was starting to come onto, that we were in a bull market, and I would enter really just not ideally early into a lot of coins. And so the goal, of course, now in what I found to work, of course, the best is keeping active during a bear market, not going away and just simply staying off of the markets until you start to see a lot of coins trending, the bull market's back, whatever. You want to be active during the bear market because you're going to get access to a ton of good opportunities that end up popping up, and that is ultimately the goal, right? So realistically, this is it for spot. We're going to be constantly researching coins. We're going to be DCAing most definitely into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. I'm going to be making sure of that for myself. And that's it. That's really it for the spot portfolio. And again, I'm going to be doing daily videos here on YouTube, but also we're going to be starting up Instagram and other things as well that are going to be also pretty active as well. And then the final thing we're going to be going over as far as what I'm going to be doing is swing and day trading. So there is a group that can help you learn a bunch on in terms of swing and day trading, and that is going to be Kaizen. I will have them linked in the description below. I've been in Kaizen for a year myself, and I have gained a lot of valuable information from there, and they do some signals as well. If that is something you're interested in, I find it better to just learn all the information myself, but that will also be linked in the description below if you're looking for a paid community that is genuinely valuable in terms of the value that they provide. They have their own course that's included with your membership as well, so you don't have to go and pay anything extra. Kaizen will be linked in the description below. And if you want to get into swing and day trading and don't have the capital up front, I do have a partnership with a prop firm that I personally use on a day-to-day basis. It is 10% off using the code in the description below. You guys will get 10% off any account that you guys end up picking, and you can even get a free trial that you can use it for a week without inputting any credit card. So it's a genuine free trial. If you want to just try it out, you can use it in the US. I'm in the US, so it's a really great prop firm, a lot of coins to use and have access to. Highly recommend checking that as well. But swing and day trading is simply just essentially what it is. It's making longs, it's making shorts. I'm not going to be getting too much into it, right? I'm going to have that covered in that free course that you guys can check out. But basically, this is the second thing I'm going to be doing. And so with the swing and day trading strategy, I'm mostly going to be looking for setups on higher time frames. But basically, this is what's going to keep me active throughout that of the bear market. Because in trading, you can essentially trade in a bear market and you can trade in a bull market. You can profit off of shorting certain coins. You can profit off of a bunch of other setups as well. But yeah, setups on higher time frames. Day trading might be a little riskier during this time because there's less liquidity flowing in the markets in that of a bear market. So day trading is something that I am going to continue to be active with. I'm going to be sharing a lot with that regards to my YouTube videos as well. But this is literally the simple explanation of what I'm going to be doing during a bear market. I'm going to be every day. I'm going to be doing some sort of trading, whether that be swing trading, day trading, monitoring charts from a technical analysis perspective. And then the other half is spot trading. So literally getting some allocation into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and constantly researching and scouting for newer coins that are coming out that could potentially do very well in the event of a bull run. So that's what we're going to be doing. And again, like a group like Kaizen, they're going to go ahead and also give you plays that you can look into yourself, that you can get in early on. But again, not financial advice there also. So this is put very simply what I'm going to be doing. And this video is more so just to explain to you the content that is going to be coming out during that of a bear market, because this is the things that we'll be talking about during that time. We'll be going over swing and day trading. We'll be going over the spot strategies that I'm implementing. Have I bought Bitcoin today? What are some levels that we're going to be looking at for Ethereum to go ahead and scoop some more up for a potential bull run to come in 2028, 2029, whenever the case is. So that is essentially what we're going to be doing for that time. I just wanted to let you guys know that, and we're going to see how these next couple of weeks go for the markets. I think there are pretty important times that we're currently sitting in. But that's going to be it from me today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later.